My name is Azinaa Hipiga, and I was 11 years old when I moved here to Canada, and I live in Moncton. I was nervous, scared, terrified, like all of those feelings that are related to those three I mentioned. I felt them because it's new. Like, I didn't know what to expect here. I didn't know anything about Canada. I didn't know anything about their school system, so it was really new. And also, I didn't know anyone, so. For dress code, in the Philippines, we have uniforms. We have different varieties of uniforms, I would say. There's one regular school uniforms. You would wear them for like 3 days a week, I guess. And then there's one uniform that's designed for during physical education. And there's Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts in the Philippines. So there's a uniform that's specific to that, and you usually wear it every Fridays. But here in Canada, it's just casual. You're able to express yourself, but in the Philippines, you're just stuck with that same uniform for the whole K-12, I guess. It's heavy in the Philippines. I have 7 classes back there, and I would always have homework for all of those classes. But here in Canada, I only have 5, and I only have like 2 homeworks out of 5 classes I do, and it's math. In terms of the workload, it's really heavy in the Philippines. Like, they would have repetitive worksheets that you have to finish, and they mark it the next day. But in Canada, they don't mark your homework. Like, it's really up to you. For the lunch culture, I would say it's similar here in the Philippines and here in Canada, because you would, like, there's tables everywhere, and then you would eat with your friends. However, food-wise, it's still similar. I bring my own food here in Canada, like traditional food, because I'm surrounded with Filipinos, so I don't really experience any discrimination or like any problems with bringing my own traditional food or how they smell like I don't feel conscious about that. Here in Canada, in my school, there's like TVs everywhere, and if it's your birthday during that week, they would put your name, like happy birthday, and then your name, and then your grade. And that's about it. Like, teachers don't really care unless they know about it. But in the Philippines, everyone knows about it. And there's birthday parties that happen during class hours because they celebrate you. And what I mean by birthday parties, you just feel obliged bringing own food for everyone in the class, because a lot of people do that. Like, you would treat everyone in your class food. Like, for example, you could go to McDonald's and then buy a bunch of burgers and then give it to everyone in the class. Like, that's how it usually works there, and it comes from your own money. I would say it's really similar here. There's lots of clubs. It can range from band or sports clubs or board games club. It's really similar. However, in the Philippines, there's cleaners. You would get assigned every week, and then you have to clean your classroom after school on the day that you're assigned to. There's usually 60 people per class. So one thing that surprised me the most when I moved here was the passing grade. I found out that the passing grade here in Canada was 60%, but in the Philippines it's 75%. So it was really shocking for me to know that information. Here, the courses changes every semester in high school, but in the Philippines, you're stuck with the same course for the whole year. So you would have to deal with the same teacher for the whole year. In high school, you could choose your own subjects or courses, your own pathway, but in the Philippines, you can't really choose your own subjects, but instead you could choose a pathway. For example, there's like STEM. If you want to do science related, you would choose STEM. But there's also ABM, which is accountancy, business, and management. And there's also HUMS, which is like humanities and social science. So it's really up to you. And those three pathways, they have their specific subjects that you're required to take. So you don't really have that much freedom compared to here. I would say it's similar to Canada, but we don't really use technology that much, so everything comes from textbook. Here in Canada, the deadlines are like they're very loose. Like you could talk to your teachers and they would allow you as long as you have a valid reason. However, in the Philippines, a deadline is a deadline. So if you don't pass it in, it's a 0 and it's unfortunate. A good teacher is someone who's understanding, approachable, and that has realistic expectations from students in general. I've witnessed in the past physical abuse happen. So they would like hit a student with a ruler, or they would make them sit in the air for long periods of time. Or if you're late, they would make you stand outside in front of the national flag, or like in front of the flag, underneath the bright sun or the rain, just because you're late. If the class, or if you get too loud, or if you're talking while your teacher is talking, they would sometimes throw an eraser or chalk at you. But I've heard that they're getting better now. Like I've talked to my cousins, they said they're doing fine. Like not a lot of those things are happening anymore, which is really good. There's also a POD, like Prefect of Discipline. So if you get in trouble, you don't go to the office. You go to POD and they would like assign a reasonable punishment for you. And also sometimes they give you a paper and then you have to write an apology paragraph, or you would have to repetitively write a statement that I will not do this anymore. And then you have to fill the whole paper of that, and then you have to like pass it in. It has been better because parents complained these days, but like back then it was like no one really cared about it. They prefer to keep quiet and not disagree with the teachers because we were taught to be obedient. We were taught that the elders are always right, so we always have to obey them, even though they're not right. It's really similar here in Canada. It can lead to suspension, detention, like a phone call from your parents. It's really similar. It's both hard and easy. It's easy because if you're trying to find someone who shares the same experience as you or similar culture as you, it's really easy to find friends because you can connect easily. But it's also hard to find friends outside of your culture because you would actually have to understand each other's differences. And I think it's really worth it to do that because it would open your mind to new perspective, I would say. I do have Canadian friends and they're cool. When I arrived here in Canada, I could speak English. However, in the curriculum, there's French, and I could not speak French. For like the first few months of school, I was completely clueless and I felt like I did not belong because I didn't know a single thing about French language. I did not feel any discrimination because they were all welcoming. Like my school was welcoming. However, I was like the shy type person, so I did not really go well with the kids around my age because here in Canada, in middle school, they usually teach you how to interact with people rather than give you homework. And in the Philippines, they give you lots of homework, but they don't teach you how to interact with people. So I was completely clueless on how to interact with people. Like making friends at first is hard because you don't know anything about here, I guess. I'm not in college yet. I'm still like in my 12th year. However, a friend of mine told me that it was quite hard to adjust from high school to college because of the curriculum gap. I wish that my Canadian teachers knew that not all Asians are good in math and that we also need help because we're just students and we have different brains and we don't function the same, and we would appreciate any help that you would give us and not have any stereotypical approach to us. Thank you for taking the time to learn about my culture.